So in our last session, we discussed about, creation of info objects, master data info objects, maintenance, everything we covered. So from today onwards, we are jumping into provider concepts. It means, aDSOs, composite providers, this concept I'm going to start. Okay. So the first topic which we are going to cover today is the aDSO. Okay. What is aDSO? aDSO means advanced data store object. Data store object. Okay. So this advanced data store object is a HANA based object. Remember it is very carefully. This aDSO is a HANA based object. Okay. So why this is HANA, why it is more important? Okay. Why we need to understand this little bit more, because SAP currently we are on SAP BW 7.5 version, and we have a BW4HANA system. These two are the BW versions. Okay, so this BW 7.5 can be, okay, this can be installed on normal database also. Okay, normal database. It means like a software, how you can install a software on different databases, different phones. In the same way, this SAP BW 7.5 version software can be installed on normal database, as well as you can install this software on a not installation. It means you can use normal database or you can use HANA database. Okay, so what is the difference between normal means we can call it as a traditional database in our IT terminology. Traditional means older ways. Okay, so it can be either traditional database or can be HANA database. You can configure this HANA BW SAP BW 7.5. So what exactly the difference happens here is, it is HANA objects. aDSO is a HANA object. So it will support only if your database is HANA. If you are installing 7.5 software on a traditional database, even though 7.5 supports aDSO concept, you cannot create those because it is not your HANA database. This aDSO can be created only on the HANA database, not on the traditional databases. Okay, this is important. That's why I told you, HANA advanced data store object is a HANA based object. And next point here to remember is, for example, if you install this BW 7.5 on a traditional database, then you must work on, okay, providers. So now we are going to talk about providers. Okay, providers means nothing but objects which can store data, or are virtual providers. It means which can runtime, which will fetch data at runtime. We will see in detail those things. So now I'm talking about providers which can store data physically. Okay, so if you are BW7, if you installed SAP BW 7.5 system on a traditional database, then you must work on DSO cube concept. Okay, these two are the providers which can store data physically. And one more provider we call where we can store data physically is nothing but one info object, also a one kind of provider. Okay, but it is a traditional database. Same thing if you install this BW 7.5 instead of DSO cube, you can go to this advanced data store object. It is a HANA based object, which is a hybrid object which can act as both DSO and cube concept. So what is DSO and cube, we will get to know in coming term, but these two objects got replaced by this aDSO concept. Okay, this info object is still info object. So if we install this BW 7.5 HANA system on a traditional database, then we must work on what kind of providers? We must work on info object, DSO, cube, multi-provider, and info set. So these are the objects which we must work on. Okay, we must use, I can say, in order to do our BW modeling. But if your system BW 7.5 was installed on HANA database, then you can go for info object, aDSO, and this composite provider. Composite provider. So these are the objects which you must use if you work on BW 7.5 on HANA database. So why we must use these? Because these are latest providers which supports HANA database and faster performance also, and gives lot of benefits, okay, to the user. That's for that reason we are going to use these objects, these providers, if we are having installed our BW 7.5 on HANA database, and if it is on traditional database, we are going to work on these things. So that's all. Now quickly jumping into our aDSo concept. So now, so I will teach you this DSO cube multi-product info set also in coming time, or else we can learn it here. Yeah, since we are currently, this training is a BW4HANA training. Okay, so if it is a BW4HANA system, there is not, it doesn't work on traditional database at all. If it is BW4HANA, 100% the database must be HANA database only. So for that reason, in BW4HANA, there is no way you can see this DSO cube multi-provider info set at all in the system. You only have these providers available in the system to work on. Okay, so there is no option, there is no alternate way. You must use info object aDSo composite providers concepts only if your system is a BW4HANA system. That's it. Okay, so currently our training is BW4HANA system. That's why I will start with aDSo and composite provider, and later time I will go through this DSO cube multi-product info set concept also when we have some time. Okay. Okay. Second. So jumping into this aDSo concept now. Okay, so what is aDSo? Advanced data store object. Okay, so a aDSo in BW HANA modeling can act as two providers. Okay, one is acts as a DSO and another one is as a cube. As I explained in my earlier explanation, this aDSo is a replacement or a hybrid info object which can replace both a DSO and cube concept in our old traditional system. Okay, so when this when coming to this aDSo, I will show you on the system. Okay, so an aDSo can be created in multiple ways. Okay, one aDSo can be created can be utilized, I can say, not created, can be utilized in multiple ways. So what are those ways? You can create an aDSo to use it as a standard aDSo, or write optimized aDSo, direct update aDSo, or cube type aDSo. These are the measures. Okay, so if you create an aDSo, this can be created on multiple types, so that each type has its own significance. Okay, each type has its own significance. So based upon our requirement, when we creating this aDSo, we will enable the settings to act this aDSo as one of these types, either standard aDSo, write optimized aDSo, direct update aDSo, cube type. So let's bring direct update to the last, and cube update a little bit up. Why? Because I will tell you. So when coming to standard aDSo, so what is the difference between standard, write optimized, and cube type aDSo? What was the major difference? Okay, so coming to that picture, what is happening in if, for example, if in an interview, if someone asked you what is the difference between standard aDSo and write optimized aDSo, the general answer anytime we provide is a standard aDSo contains 3 tables. Okay, so what are those tables? New table, active table, change log table. So a standard aDSo contains these 3 tables. There is an importance of each table in this standard aDSo. We will get to know in coming in some time. And when coming to write optimized DSO, here we have only one table, that is you can call it as an inbound table. Only one table exists for this write optimized DSO. and cube type, follows star schema. So we cannot consider, when we talking about aDSo of cube type, where this, how to say, I will show you the tables information here. So I'm not talking about only whenever we say comparison between these two we will say in this way. When coming to cube type in interview, if they're asking, you must say every field, every characteristic in the aDSo acts as a key field. Okay. So this is the definition we need to tell when they ask about what is a cube type aDSo. Okay. In standard aDSo, we define the key. In right optimized aDSo, we can define, but mostly we don't define the key at all. So what is key here? When I'm talking about key, here it is when in our earlier sessions we learned about, for example, if I take in material master data attribute table, then material acts as a key in the table to differentiate the records. Each record to record based upon the key, it differentiates. And when we talk about sales data in our earlier sessions, we defined bill number, bill item as a keyword. Why? Because each record in my data can be differentiated with the combination of these two records. So this is the key. So when we creating aDSo of type standard aDSo, we must define the key. It is mandatory to define key part. Okay. When coming to right optimized DSO, there is we don't define key at all. We keep everything as normal fields. Okay. And when coming to cube type itself consider each and every characteristic as a key field. Okay. For example, if I come to this data set, if I am creating this particular data set, if I am creating an aDSo of cube type with this structure, then system will consider bill number, item, date, material, and and currency price also, everything as a currency, and these keys also, I guess, mostly. So these consider all these characteristics as key fields. You no need to define anything explicitly. This is key, this is not key. System consider everything as a key. Okay, that also we are going to learn in coming time. So these are the major differences. Now next what we are going to do is we are going to learn about standard aDSo in detail. Okay, so once we are covering all the information related to standard aDSo, then we are going to learn about right optimized and then cube type. Finally, I will show you the direct update aDSo. Okay, so this is standard aDSo. So our target is to load data into a standard aDSo which is in BW4HANA system or BW1HANA 7.5. Okay. So if you wish to load data into a aDSo, you need to bring data from a third-party system, from a source system. Okay, either it may be flat file or it may be another SAP R3 system or an Oracle system. Okay, so if you wish to load data from a source system into BW, you need an intermediate object called data source. So in our case here, before creating aDSo, we need some source data, and here we are considering the source as a flat file. In order to load data from flat file into our aDSo, we must create one aDSo. Okay, so first we will finish the aDSo concept and then we will come to this aDSo. The flat data source concept, and then we come to this aDSo. Okay, and before this also one more thing, let's first discuss about our where is it? 1 minute. We need to discuss about our file. Okay, so we have one file called sales data 2. Okay, in this file we have some transactional data. So let's see what is this transactional data. Open with notepad. So in the notepad, you see in this file I taken document number, item, created on, material, quantity, unit, amount, currency. Okay, these are my fields and this is my test data. Okay, my requirement is to load this flat file into an aDSo. Now currently we are discussing about HANA info object based modeling. So when coming to info object based modeling, if you wish to load this data into our BW, you need one info object for each column in this data set. It means you need one info object for document number, you need one info object for item, one info object for created on, material, quantity, unit, amount, currency. Like this, for each and every column in your data set, you need one corresponding info object. So first we need to identify the info objects. Before starting your development, you first need to identify the info objects for your dataset. Okay, so now let's go to the system. Now let's see info objects for this one. So this is my dataset. So for document number, do I have any info object here? So document number, do we have any info object available in our system? So remember, when you're creating a DSO in real-time projects, and if you wish to load this kind of data into your system, then it is not always recommendable to create info objects for your columns. It means whichever is there, don't start creating info objects directly for your requirement. First point here is to identify any existing info object is available or not. It means for document number, do we have any standard info object available? If available, use that info object. If it is not available, then create new one. Why? Because if you keep on creating new info objects for each and every development, then your system will not be in consistent way. Okay, so too much redundancy will be created on your system. That's why, for that reason, based upon your data set, based upon your columns and columns requirement, first of all, reuse the existing info objects in your system. If the existing info object not available, a standard info object not available, then only create new info objects. Okay, so how to identify whether I have a existing info object available for my document number or not? Okay, there are multiple ways are there to to identify this info object. If you are working on BW4HANA 7.5 system with the traditional database or little bit old versions, then one thing is go to RSD1, click on here on the info object section, give doc star num, something like this, give some keyword with stars, give some keyword and press F4. You see there is one document number info object available in my system. Okay, so is it standard info object or created by someone? It's created by someone. If it is a standard info object, then definitely it starts with 0. Here, since it is not starting with 0, it is not a standard info object. It is a custom info object. But I have already one info object available. So, and with length also 10. In that scenario, I no need to create a new info object for my new data set. I can reuse this document number info object. And then item. I need one info object for item. So I am going to search for item also. Item. So I am writing my keyword item and pressing F4. If it is available, you see ZSS item. So when coming to this ZSS item of length 2, yes, this is also satisfying my requirement of length 2 because my data set length is 2 only. So I can reuse this info object. It means whatever info object you found in the database, it is always recommendable to reuse. Means you need to check with it within your project also. Okay, whether it's correct or not. But reusability is the main first point. If it is not correct to reuse the existing info object, then go for creation of new one. When coming to created on, so go to here and click on created on, created. Because there will be some definitely one info object for created on. Date on which you see there is one /ERP/created on. Okay, so I don't want this one. And okay, 1 second, there will be one more info object will be there, not ERP one. I think it is not their time characteristic. Cal month. Okay, let's create then the /ERP/ is completely new thing. So I don't want to use that one. So I'm going to create a new info object for created on. Okay. So G created underscore on, but it is too much big length. So I need to reduce this one. So what I need to do, I need to reduce my ovals first. So here E and A and E. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 something. It will be okay. Created on. Okay, and then material. So do I have any info object? So as of now I told you one option to search it from RSD1, right? If it is not RSD1, if it is BW4HANA system where we don't have this screen at all, then in that scenario how we are going to search whether info object is available or not? In that scenario, go to SC11 table. Okay, there is one standard table, RSD IOBJ table, IOBJ text table. Okay, it is a standard info object table of text, info object text table. Okay, with EN language. You can check on here. For example, my requirement here is to create a info object for material. So I am going to, on the long description, I am giving material star and then click on execute. So yeah, there is nothing, maybe capital letter. You see here it is case sensitive, so you must give a little bit carefully. You see there are multiple number of material info objects are available in the system with the name material. Okay, so you can use any of these info objects, and we need active version of info object. So if I go here, I have many info objects are there. So let's take this ZSR mat. So to understand this, what this info object length and all, if you want to search, come to HANA Studio, click on this search button and then give your info object name and press enter. So if you do search, below it is showing you the search results on the search tab. Double click on this ZSR mat, you can find it. So it is of length, ZSR length 18 material, and but master data was not enabled. I think we have one info object with the master data also enabled. Let me check that one if it is there or not. Yesterday somewhere we created one G material, I think. Okay, so let's search for G material info object where we enabled master data also. Yeah, if we take this G material, then we have master data also enabled. So let's consider this info object, okay, for our requirement. And then quantity. So for quantity, there is an object, info object, quantity. You see, 0 quantity. So 0 quantity is a standard info object which we can use for quantity. Automatically corresponding unit field also comes into our system when we take this one. It is 0 unit, nothing but 0 unit. Okay. Similarly, we have one standard info object called 0 amount for the amount field, and for currency it is 0 currency. So only thing is I have everything except this created on. So I am going to create one info object now for created on. Okay, I'm going to my info area. I'm creating new info object created on. So why I'm taking this much time to explain this way, because in real time we must do in this way only. Okay, it's not casting, it is 1 second, I did wrong. I must create it as date type, but I created it as a character string. That's why I'm cancelling this, deleting it, this one. I'm recreating one more time, characteristic. So because based upon this, how you are developing your things, people get to know your experience level. So when we are supposed to create info objects, two things. It is not always correct to create a new info object for your requirement. First, search the system whether any info object, available info object suits your column information. If it is available, reuse the info object. If not, only create your info object. Okay. Now I have all the info objects ready. Now what I am going to do now, so as per our data flow, first I need to create a flat file data source and load and then on top of this flat file data source I am going to create my standard aDSo. Okay, it won't take much time, so I will quickly finish this flat file because we already created flat file multiple times, so I will make it little bit quick. Okay, I went to data sources tab and I went to file system, flat file system. Here I am creating my data source, create data source. So what is my data source name? GSR underscore GDS, how I'm giving GDS underscore SR underscore sales underscore 2. Okay, and now what kind of data source it is? It is a transactional data type of data source. Okay, my data source type must be transactional data. It is very important. Okay, click on OK, and then provide your description, sales data. It is not mandatory to give description for each and everything here, but better to give it. And then go to extraction tab, select your flat file here, open, and we have header row and our data format is CSV, comma separated CSV file, go to proposal and then load example data, allow to access to our file. It is proposing some field column names and all, but we go to field section. We already have our own info objects available, so we are going to provide our info objects information here. Okay, so for each column in our file, we already identified the corresponding info objects. So provide the info objects name and then press enter. It is important. Okay, if you give it simply not press enter, then you will get one screen like this. Do you wish to copy the properties of this info object into this data type length column? That's what it is saying, because currently the data type and length was populated based upon our file information. If you see document number, system taken as int2. Okay, for date it is fine. For material it is taken char2. But whenever we copy this information, automatically data types everything got changed. How this got changed? The information got copied from the info object properties. Okay, and once this is done, activate your data source and then go to preview. So to make sure your data source is fetching the information from the data from your file correctly, we must always do at least once data preview here, read data preview. So here by seeing this data preview, you can make sure your data is reading correctly into correct columns. Okay, that's why read data preview is important. So we are done with the flat file data source creation. So now we are going to create the standard aDSo. So how to create standard aDSo? Right click on your info area, go to new and click on standard aDSo. So what is our aDSo name? So our aDSo name I'm going to give is SR, which is SR represents my my naming convention here, and A represents aDSo name, and and then sales, SR underscore A sales aDSo. So when I give an assignment to you to create similar kind of aDSos, you provide your own naming convention here. Okay, instead of SR you can give your own naming convention, 2-letter word, and then followed by your A, since you are creating a standard aDSo, and then followed by the kind of data it is, sales or inventory, billing dog, something like that. Okay, now click on finish. We given the technical name of an aDSo and description. So this is only technical, you see, this is already info provider with SR AR sales. In that case, I need to little bit change like in this way. Okay, finish. So now in this particular screen, what is we are going to do? So this is important. Once you click on OK, this is your initial screen. By default, when you are creating an aDSo, system makes it as a standard aDSo only. So if you don't change anything here, then system considering this aDSo as a standard aDSo. But if you wish to change it to a different type of type like write optimized or a cube type, then you need to modify the settings here. Okay, and by seeing the settings, how I can determine whether it is a standard aDSo or a write optimized aDSo? By looking into this activate data checkbox and a write changelog checkbox, we can make sure that this aDSo is of type standard aDSo. Okay, always remember if these two are checkboxes are enabled, then it is standard aDSo. Okay, now go to details section. On the details section, so we need to add our info objects because we are going to create the structure of this aDSo. So far this aDSo contains no columns at all. Okay, and now we are going to add our column information to our aDSo. Click on this info objects, add info objects, tab, and select your info objects information one by one. So our first one is document number. Search it, add it to the right side, double click on the info object, it will be added automatically to the right hand side. So like this we are going to add. So this kind of development we already seen in our earlier session, but this is not over. We have a lot of information to learn about this aDSo. All those things we will cover in today or tomorrow session based upon time. Okay, so I added all my field column information onto the right hand side, and now I am going to click on OK button. You see, it is adding my data one by one. So after adding your column information, what is the next step? Next step is to determine the key of your aDSo. As I explained earlier, standard aDSo, you must define key. Okay, so there is an option called manage keys. Go to this manage key section and identify which fields are your key fields. When you see here, you see the key figures are not appearing here. Why? Because key figures will not be key anytime. For that reason, only characteristics will be shown in this section here. So document number, item, these two acts as a key for your data set. So I'm selecting these two and then clicking on add button. It will come to the below side. Whichever fields you enabled as key, this key symbol will come automatically. Because I added these to the key section, this key symbol is coming. Click on OK. And now you see key symbol. So if it is not mandatory to have all key fields on the top only, sometimes you can find your key fields somewhere in below bottom also. But wherever you see this key symbol, all these are keys for your DSO. Remember that point. Okay. After updating this key fields, you must activate your aDSo. So now what happening? aDSo is getting activated. You see SR_ASL_AS1. Now this was activated successfully. If it contains this red color icon, it means it is inactive state. Whenever you see there is no red icon on your data store DSO symbol, it means it is activated successfully. So what next? So we created data source, we created aDSo, and what is our next target? Our next target is to load data from flat file into your aDSo. Can I load directly? No. First of all, I need to create two more things. What are those things? I need to define the mapping between my flat file and aDSo, and then create a DTP to load data from flat file into your aDSo. So these two things are pending now. So I am right clicking on my aDSo and right click here, create transformation. Okay, so when I click on create transformation, so what is transformation? A transformation defines the mapping between source and target object. Okay, so since I am right clicking on my target object, because my target is aDSo, I need to mention what is my source. Here my source is a data source, so select a data source type and then provide your data source name. So what is your data source name? We created a data source for this purpose, so copy this data source name, search here, it will come automatically with the source system name also. Double click on it, both will be filled automatically. Now click on OK button. So a transformation will come in this way. Okay, so what next? So once it is done, once you have everything like this, what we are going, so see, because of the same technical names available on both sides, system is doing automatic mapping. If the technical names are different, then these mappings may not be available, you have to do it manually. Okay, since all the mappings are done automatically, I am activating my transformation. So once what is this transformation means? I said a transformation defines the mapping between the source and the target providers. So from source document number column was mapped to the target document number column. This is how you need to read your transformation. Now if you refresh your fold info area, you can see that changes, whatever newly created objects, you can see, you see under your aDSo you can see a transformation. So what is next? Once the transformation was created, we need to create corresponding DTP. Okay, so right click on the new and DTP. Since our source is a flat file data source, we always perform full load. Okay, remember that point too. So when I'm creating my DTP using transformation, my target and source will be automatically filled. So just simply clicking on OK will navigate to my next screen. And remember, don't change this text. You see the top node, whatever you are seeing here is a editable text, but 90% preferable is never change this text, because SAP is providing this text automatically representing what is your source and what is your target. If you change it later by seeing into this transformation, very difficult for you to identify what is this is until you open it. Okay, DTPs and all. So keeping as it is will benefits a lot in the coming when you work on further time. Okay, so next we created DTP. Since our source is a flat file, we always make sure we change the extraction mode to full mode, because full mode, because we are going to utilize here ODP concept. It means reading directly from the source system instead of this one, data extraction from source system. The file name, settings, everything will be copied from the data source automatically. Simply activate your DTP and go to execute button, click on execute. So what happens if you click on execute? When you click on execute button, now system will read the data from your flat file in your source system, or not your source system, in your hard disk, because it is flat file, and try to load into the aDSo directly. Okay, so click on execute button. System asking to permission to access the file here, provide the permission, and then request has status and successfully. Do you want to monitor? Request monitor. So this screen is nothing but request monitor. This is very important screen. Okay, so don't ignore this screen because it is green. If it is green here on the header, it means your DTP executed successfully. If it is red, then there is some failure in the data load and which needs to be corrected. Okay, and currently we are in the detail section. Here it is telling at what time timestamp it was started and when it was ended. If you go to header tab, here very important to to understand the header tab also, because when doing analysis, some kind of analysis, this information is very useful for you. What exactly you are able to identify on the header tab? On the header tab, you can see what is the, you can see what kind of information. The status successful, green means successful. Okay, what else status we have? Red means failure. Okay, and what is your source? It means this particular DTP, for this DTP the source is a data source, this one, and target is your aDSo. And what kind of DTP you ran? Is it a full DTP you ran or a delta DTP you ran? That's that information. And how many records got inserted into the target as part of this TTP process. Okay, so by executing this TTP, 6 records got inserted into my target. Okay, and any selections if you applied on your DTP, it will be shown here. This concept we will see in coming time. Okay, not now, as we not applied anything. So it was everything is done. Now what is our requirement? We need to go to manage. By clicking on this administrator data target, you can go to manage of your aDSo. Okay, click on close button. You see. But what happens in some systems when you go to this administrative data target, it won't open here. It will open on the Chrome window. Okay, it will open on the Chrome window, which is for the familiar people it is okay, but other people it will be a little bit difficult to understand that browser version. Okay, so what next? One second. So if for the people who are having difficulty to understand this monitor on Chrome window, if this manage is not opening on your HANA Studio, you can open this manage in a different way. Okay, so copy your technical name of your data store object, come to SAP GUI, this our RS7 SAP GUI window. You can open one transaction called RSMNG. Okay, what is this one? RSMNG. I can type this one for understanding. It is RSMNG. So by using this particular transaction code, you can come to this kind of screen. Okay, here by selecting the data store object advanced and object name here and click on execute, it navigates to the similar screen. You see, close. You see whatever screen I am seeing here, the same screen I am seeing here in my HANA Studio also. Okay, so it is very easy to use this one. Okay, so what exactly this screen is, what I am expecting from it. Okay, so here it is showing our target object name and how many TTP requests got loaded so far. So far only I execute this TTP once, that's why only one request you are seeing here. Okay, and you see at a timestamp and all, double click on this request, it will give you some log of this request below also. Okay, which we seen in our detail job monitor one. Okay, now this we can understand a little bit more in a later point, but what is next important is you loaded the data into this aDSo. So when you perform a data load into aDSo, now what is next? This aDSo is a combination of three tables. As I told you, a standard aDSo is a combination of three tables: new table, active table, changelog table. Okay, whenever you perform data load, then initially the data will be loaded into the first table, that is new table. Okay, so how to identify which is new table? Now go to your manage, go to utilities. On the utilities you can see these three icons: display new data, active data, changelog data. Now if I go to new data, click on display new data, it is trying to open new data table. So this table is nothing but new data table. I told you whenever we perform data load to aDSo or aDSo, in the backend it will create some standard tables. Data will be stored at the end in the form of tables only. So this is the new table. Okay, if I click on execute, I can see my 6 entries which I loaded from my flat file. Okay, so whenever you perform the data load, initially data comes and sits in the new data table. Okay, like this. Now what is the benefit means? Yeah, this is the process. When you load initially, here you can see the request ID and data packet record number 126. So here we don't do anything, but after loading into here, we need to do one more activation of this request. So once the DTP completes successfully, we need to select the request and click on activate button. Okay, this is called activation process. So select your request, click on activate. So what is happening when you click on activate button? When you click on activate button, system will move data from new table into active table. Okay, so currently if I go to my active table now, yeah, already moved. Okay, so if I see refresh here, earlier you see earlier there are 0 records in this column, correct? If I refresh my screen, you see now 6 came. It means by doing the activation, the records which are in new table got moved into active table. How I am saying movement? If I go to display new data table now, you see there are no records now in the new table. All the records got moved to my next table, which is nothing but active data table. You see data was moved to active table. In the active table, this is the key section which you define at the time of creating the aDSo. Sales order, document and item is your key, and remaining are the characteristic fields. Okay, so what is happening after loading data into standard aDSo? You must activate the request. Upon successful activation, the data will be moved from new table to active table. Okay, it is not copy movement. The data won't be available in new table anymore. So after this, what next? Quickly we will look into the next table also, which is changelog table. Display changelog table. So what exactly is this changelog table? In the changelog table, system captures the changes information. So you know, to understand this table, we need to learn a little bit more, which we will learn in tomorrow session. Okay. In tomorrow session, I will show you what is the importance of changelog table, how exactly system captures changes. But for today, you understand there is a column called record mode. In the record mode, you see there is an N symbol. What is N means? New record. N means new record. It means till now this aDSo doesn't contain this kind of record. First time it is coming into this record. That's why system given it's a new record status. Okay. Now tomorrow we will see, you know, we will learn more in detail about a changelog table. Okay. For today I am concluding by explaining the concept till, you know, explaining the three tables in this standard aDSo. Okay, so today what we learned, today we learned info object modeling, you know, of a standard aDSo, and the what are the three tables, how to load data from flat file into a standard aDSo, and how to perform activation and moving the data from new table to changelog table. Okay, and I quickly provide you one assignment to complete this one, then we will look into further. So for today assignment is, so we are going to create some transactional data for the employees. Okay, in our earlier sessions we mostly worked on employee data. We created employee info objects, we created employee master data info objects and everything. So today what we are going to do is we are going to create some employee transactional data aDSo. We are going to create it. So this aDSo contains a below structure emp underscore id, and what else we need? Cal month, okay, or else a date, employee id. Let's take month only as of now, because date wise, which is best? Let's take attendance only. Okay, date field, and then employee id, date, what else required here? Status, status. Okay, in the status flag I am going to tell whether he is attended or not. Okay, what else I need to here? Hours information. Status means status here is okay, status hours, and then that's it. Okay, let's have this information here. And next is here the key for this table is employee ID and the date. Okay, these two acts as a date. Let's okay. So when coming to the data set, you know, data type. So this is of type char info object, date is of dates, that's type, status is of type char, and this is of type you know, integer, decimal. There are no units. You must create an info object, key figure info object of type decimal. Okay, and length, employee ID. Earlier we created employee ID master data, so use the same info object. Don't create new info object. Give length 10, dates automatically come as 8, status flag give 1, and hours decimal. Okay, when coming to decimal, you can give around, you know, it's a decimal. You can give 17,2, or it's too much because hours I am not more than 8 hours per day it records. So you can give 5,2. Okay, this is more than enough. And then this is the data length of each info object. This is the, you know, technical name of the info object. You can give as this is g date, and this is g status, g access underscore status. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So more letters are there. A I O U stats 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, here it is g xx underscore hours 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Okay, this is enough. So these are the info objects, these are the data types, this is the length. So you can able to create now So employee can create a flat file with the below employee transactional data. So let me bring this here and let me copy it here and employee. So earlier which employee information we load EMP001 and 2. So let's take these two employees information, date 2022-01-01, 2022-01-01, status, present and 8 hours. Okay, so it means it is a transactional data, attendance information of each employee. In real time you won't find this kind of data. Okay, remember, just for our learning purpose I am giving this kind of data. Okay, for each date we have the attendance information of these employees. Okay, present, absent, whenever it is absent then it is a 0, and whenever it is present it is 8. Okay, so this kind of information, transactional data you created. And then second point is create aDSo with the below structure. So this is a info object based modeling. Create aDSo info objects based modeling with the below structure. So you must create one aDSo with this below structure and load data from the above flat file. Okay, and then it means you must create transformation DTP and everything. So finally, after loading data into it, you must activate the data, and finally I wish to see the data in the target table. So I'm closing the session. We will see tomorrow further. Okay, thank you. Stopping. Yeah.